we are going to have a doubleheader tonight. The first series is going to be between Salt Gaming, also known as Execution Esports, and Treehead's Wiener Smasher, TWS. And then, depending on how fast this first game goes, I may be able to cast the second series for them, the second matchup. Otherwise, I'll be making my escape and jumping over to Firestarter versus Team Resilience. So, either way, we're going to see at least 3 full games of Dota here tonight. Get him in the books, and we will go from there. So, first and foremost, thank you for tuning in. My name is Darmin, coming to you live on twitch.tv/DarminCast. As I mentioned before, this is the AD2L Season 9 playoffs. This is the heroic bracket, and it's the meeting between Salt Gaming, also known as Execution Esports, and Treehead's Wiener Smasher, henceforth referred to as TWS. Although, for some reason, their in-game tag is TWM. Not sure if they're just ignoring the S and going with M for Masher. Not sure. But, who knows? With a clever name like a Wiener Smasher, you gotta get fancy with the acronyms. There's too many teams out there trying to steal that same name. Then going into the second matchup tonight, we will be tuning into Firestarter versus Team Resilience, also in the heroic bracket. So these two teams may go on to face each other later off in the bracket if both teams continue to win. So, yep, it looks like MASH is the word that they were using there. So, TWS, gonna start off the banning cycle, banning out the Shadow Fiend. My audio's coming in a little low here, so I'm going to adjust it. Sorry about this, guys. Just want to make sure my levels are right. Don't want to deafen you guys. Go. So, we have Shadow Fiend, Alchemist, Tusker, and I suspect we'll see a Doom ban coming out of Execution Esports, unless they're feeling bold, and they are. So they ban out the Earthshaker. So, a relatively uncommon ban on the Earthshaker by Execution Esports, so they may have been doing some homework against TWM and figured that's a hero that they really like to play, and so looking to deprive them of that. But Doom is still very much on the board, as TWM pick up Disruptor, which I like to refer to as Disraptor, riding around on his dinosaur. And one of my favorite support heroes to play, not only because of kinetic field, but I think Glimpse is one of the best tempo controlling, team fight controlling and positioning spells in the game, because it's good for offense, it's good for defense. If you're trying to chase down a fleeing enemy hero, you glimpse him away. If you're trying to push a tower, enemies are teleporting to the tower to stage a defense, you can just hit the glimpse and port them back to the fountain. And then that TP scrolls on cooldown, and they have to waddle their way all the way down the lanes if they want to make a second attempt to defend the tower. And despite not having any real nuke, he does have Thunderstrike, which provides some of that early harass damage, and of course Static Storm, which contributes greatly to team fights in terms of, you know, a steady AoE damage ability, as well as an AoE silence. And if you combine that in the right way with Kinetic Field, it's a devastating combo. Of course, it's easiest to land that kinetic field static storm combo if you have a Darkseer on your team to provide vacuum wall synergy, but they're not going to have that here in Game 1, as Execution Esports pick up the Darkseer as their second pick, right on the heels of Witch Doctor.
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds.
And so far,
remaining.
the game's looking to shape up into some pretty massive AoE team clashes, as you have the Vacuum Wall Maledict Death Ward combo going up against the Kinetic Field Static Storm combo. And we'll see if teams look to push this synergy even further, picking up even more of those AoE-centric teamfight abilities, or if they're going to be content with it as is and roll from there. TWM not providing too much information about their overall strategy as they pick up their second hard support character in their lineup, going with a Shadow Shaman. I'd be shocked to see if they play him as a core or anything like that. I've seen it done. I've seen mid Shadow Shamans, but it's pretty rare. The Snake Wards are fine and dandy, but he doesn't scale nearly as well as your traditional mid rolls, so I suspect we'll see the Disruptor and Shadow Shaman providing the true support, roaming around, and with Glimpse, Hex, and Shackles, they're going to be able to provide a lot of tempo control for team fights, and if they roam early in the match, they'll be able to flank and lock down a hero in any lane that they want for quite a while. Even at level 3, you're going to have 1,000 cast range on the Glimpse, followed by 1.2, a full 3 seconds of disable. So maybe even more than that, because you'll have let's call it 2 points into Hex, 1 into Shackles if he's feeling crazy. And that's going to be 5.5 seconds plus the Glimpse. So 5 seconds of disability with at least 2 heroes and potentially some creeps beating on your face in the early stages of a game is more than enough to hurt you and send you back. TWM, on the other hand, looking to ban out a few of Execution Esports' heroes. They ban out the Invoker and the Winter Wyvern. Winter Wyvern would definitely contribute to the teamfight synergy that seems to be at play here, as Execution Esports picks up the Gyrocopter with his call down. A wombo combo I love seeing, the vacuum into the call down, because you have the massive damage, slow, followed by the illusions from the wall just beating on people. So Execution Esports are
10 seconds
in for a penny, in for a pound right now, as they're going
5 seconds remaining.
with a teamfight oriented lineup. TWM responding with a clockwork pick of their own, which is going to provide them some additional flexibility in terms of roaming around and ganking. Let's see. Over on Execution Esports, their last ban cycle, they went through the Juggernaut and the Undying. Undying, another one of those heroes where if they didn't want to pick it up themselves, which with Darkseer in their lineup already, their offlane is pretty much accounted for. It's a smart ban out to help slow TWM's potential teamfight capabilities. But now, as we're into the final 2 picks and the final bans on each team, Execution Esports is going to start to burn into their reserve time a little bit, and they pick up the Dazzle. So the Voodoo Brothers hanging out in the support roles of Execution Esports. Well, not a truly dominant team fight hero, Dazzle does provide the heal,
10
which of
seconds
course can be used
remaining.
as either a nuke, but usually and most
5
often
seconds remaining.
it provides just extra sustain in prolonged team
Reserve
fights.
time.
And of course, if TWM decide to get a bit gank happy with the clockwork and roaming supports, Dazzle will be there with the shallow grave to hopefully keep some of his cores alive. I suspect we'll see that, depending on positioning, cast onto Darkseer most often. If Darkseer is going to be the one to stick his face out in front of the gyrocopter to land that vacuum wall combo. But there's still another pickup for Execution Esports, so they may look for another true initiator, because Darkseer has it in the vacuum, but if that misses, and even if it lands, he likes to not necessarily dive into the
10
middle
seconds
of
remaining.
a disruptor, static storm, and
5 seconds
clockwork battery
remaining.
assault, and with Skywrath Mage in the mix now, there's going to be even
Reserve
more magical damage coming out. So it's going to be hard for a Darkseer to charge at this lineup. Mystic Flare is going to be... And Darkseer's going to have a lot of silences to slow him down. So if he does get caught out of position and someone tosses a silence his way, he's not going to be able to surge back to safety after he throws out the vacuum. Skywrath Mage, one of those heroes that synergizes really well with Clockwork. Right now they have a pretty squishy lineup though, between Skywrath, Shadow Shaman, and Disruptor. They have 3 relatively low HP, intellect-based heroes.
Dire team ban.
But the Skywrath Mystic Flare does synergize quite well with the power cogs, so
Team pick.
I'm sure we'll be keeping an eye out for Clockwork to land that hook and cog in a hero, and that'll presumably be followed up with that Mystic Flare as Skywrath looks to add to Clockwork's potential nuke damage and take one of these Execution Esports heroes out of the fight before it begins.
10 seconds
Execution
remaining.
banning out Spectre, and now they're eating into the last of their time, and there's the Doom pickup. So
Pick.
saving the best for last if you're going by this meta's current pick ban rate. Well, actually, I don't think he's at the top of the pick ban rates. I think that's still Queen of Pain if you factor in both pick and bans. She's still getting a lot of love. TWM banning out the TA, suspecting that they were that Execution Esports were going to be picking up a mid,
5 seconds
and
remaining.
they picked up a Doom, so I'm not sure how this laning phase is going to go. I suspect we'll see Skywrath hanging out in the mid lane for his team. And then I'm curious to see if they put Doom or Gyrocopter into that mid lane. Since they are on the Radiant side, Doom wouldn't be too bad in
10 seconds
the
remaining.
mid lane for Radiant, because he'd be able to duck into the
5 seconds.
side camps, stack those up, and get some stacks and some jungle farm that way in addition to his laning. But we will see shortly here as the drafting phase of this match is done and we're getting ready to kick off the game. The final pickup from TWM is going to be Weaver, so I suspect we'll see him in the safe lane, but of course Weaver, Clockwork, both very capable heroes of surviving in the off lane. Picking a Weaver into a Doom can be a bit risky until Weaver's able to farm up that Lincoln Sphere, because as we all know, a doomed Weaver is not as threatening.
10 seconds remaining.
He's pretty much the Day Stalker. He's the daytime version of a Night Stalker. Oh, let's see what this is. An excellent disconnect. Compliments of Dota Reborn. So reconnect, jump back into the game here. Disconnect of the ancient. He's not kidding. And it looks like there are a few other heroes that got hit by the reborn bug as well. Start off with the last hits here, and I'll go through introductions here, starting with Execution Esports, which is listed as Salt Gaming in the AD2L playoff brackets. So if you're wondering what this team name is compared to the brackets, there you have it. It's going to be Salt. I'll start by announcing the courier, because that is a unique looking courier. I haven't seen that one. Pretty cool looking. Alright, but on a more serious note, you have YB Viking. He's going to be playing your gyrocopter today. Coming up behind him is Dot Kite, playing the Darkseer. On Doom, we have Husky, as he staggers forward here. Nikawa, playing the Witch Doctor, and of course rocking the Immortal Monkey, but it's not sitting there in his
30 seconds to battle.
in his inventory, so oh, that might have something to do with the reborn bug, I guess. Not sure. But I'm gonna hold off on introductions here for just a second, because it looks like we might have a battle breakout here, as both teams are looking to contest this top rune very heavily. Yeah, the Ion Shell being thrown on to Husky as he runs forward into the rune, and right now they're zoning out to TWM, and the first to fall is going to be B-Jammer on the Shadow Shaman as the Witch Doctor looks to make his escape, but Weaver and Sakuchi is going to have max move speed, and he gets in front of him and he provides a body block, which is going to be just enough damage to kill him, but he may fall as a result of it. He's trying to sprint away with Sakuchi, and he is going to be able to get away. So he had to use a healing salve there in between the right click of the Darkseer and the hit from the tower. But it did secure him a kill, bringing it to a 1-for-1 even exchange, and now he's back into his lane and farming. So a bit costly there. And who got the bottom one? It looks like Clockwork was hanging out in the bottom lane and had an uncontested rune in the bot. So the runes do go 1-for-1, the kills go 1-for-1, but it's Execution Esports picking up the first blood. So a very slight advantage in their favor. And let's see, it was the gyrocopter who got that. So both of the safe lane hard carries picking up their first kills of the match already. Finishing up introductions here, we have Canada playing the Dazzle. Then jumping over to TWM, we have B-Jammer, as we saw giving up first blood there, playing the Shadow Shaman. Over in his lane, getting some right clicks down on the creep wave here. You have Treehead facing up against the Gyrocopter in the off lane, the Gyrocopter and the Dazzle. And he's eating a little bit of damage here between the poison and the flak cannon. That flak cannon range is always deceptively large. He shot it from about here and it still hit him underneath the tier 1 tower. Up a little bit of a contest here between Dot Kite and Wiener as they look to contest this top run. In the mid lane you have Doom surging forward against the Skywrath Mage, but he does have a healing salve and a clarity potion, so he's going to back off regen, and he has enough for bottle now, so I'll be curious to see if he goes for it. Yep, and there it is. He picks it up. So, speaking of mid lane, Tar Palantir. Seems right. Tar Palantir? Tar Palantir? Something like that. It's going to be playing your Skywrath Mage in the middle lane. Then, of course, last but not least, we have Wiener playing the Disruptor in the top lane, stacking up some neutral camps by the looks of things, and then trying to carry his team to victory is going to be Bismarck playing the Weaver. Yes, that is my fancy impression. Treehead catching out Nikawa with a battery assault cogs, and he's going to be able to keep up with him here, and he's not even doing the right click dance. He's just hanging out next to him with the battery assault and getting the second kill for his team, catching the Shadow Shaman, or excuse me, the Witch Doctor slightly out of place there. In the mid lane, Husky looking to balance it up by getting a kill of his own. He's not going to be able to do so. But TMW are going to secure a kill for themselves in the top lane here, which I missed, as Weaver and Shadow Shaman are able to lock down Darkseer long enough to grant them the kill. So Dot Kite hitting his first death of the match, but he's back in lane ready to push forward. Meanwhile, Viking going up head to head against Treehead here, popping the rocket barrage, the flak cannons, and constantly harassing him out. There's pings coming out from the Dazzle though. Not quite sure what those are about. Maybe just saying be careful. Skywrath picked up a haste, but he is going to be doomed. And now Doom looking to tower dive. He's got the Doom and the Scorched Earth, and one more right click is going to be enough to do it. The Doom will tick him down to death, and he'll make his escape through the jungle. Meanwhile, on the top lane here, Dot Kite being forced back to his tower due to the lockdown capabilities of this Shadow Shaman Darkseer, not Darkseer, the Shadow Shaman Disruptor combination. And there's the Shackle. Weaver surges forward to do a little bit of damage, and Wiener also throwing out the kinetic field, but there's so much lockdown over there. Darkseer is going to be at risk anytime he steps forward, but while he's falling, TWM's offlane falls as well, as the duo of Witch Doctor and Gyrocopter are able to secure a kill against the Clockwork.
Here, catch!
Sorry about that. Giving you guys a little tour there, as I get a few messages about tonight's game, the one following this, but while we're here, let's try to stay focused. On Darmin, let's try that game. So we had a bit of a clash in the middle lane, but it looks like both teams are recovering from it. Doom sitting on top of the dual Mango and the Tranquil Boot, so even without Scorched Earth, he's sitting on 15.6 regen right now. Gyrocopter pushing by himself. There's not an ally in sight here, but Husky is going to surge forward and secure a kill against the Shadow Shaman, and the Doom is not going to be enough to finish off the Skywrath Mage, so he has to abandon his dive to kill off a support. So the noble sacrifice from the support's saving a core there. But in the bottom lane, you have Weaver looking to make a move against Dazzle here, but he's still sitting on Shallow Grave, so he should be okay. He gets into tower range here to keep eyes on Weaver if he does decide to dive further. Now was just going to tango up, heal up. But Gyrocopter hanging out a little bit too far forward. We saw him get a little aggressive just a few moments ago by pushing into the Tier 1 tower by himself, and the Weaver Clockwork combination made him pay. And B-Jammer clearly looking to land a Shackle or Hex there, moving forward, trying to lock down the Gyrocopter long enough for the Weaver to pump in the damage, but Viking backs off underneath the safety of his Tier 1 tower, and it's not going to be there for him yet. Well, you got some stacking coming out from the Witch Doctor, looking to build up these camps for the Doom. And so right now, last hits are slightly favoring Salt Gaming. Let's take a look at the net worth. Doom sitting on a bit of a lead, especially with the Midas, but nothing insurmountable yet. The Clockwork comes diving in, but Husky was silenced for a bit. He's going to throw out the Doom against the Skywrath, who was at pretty much full health, and I don't think that's going to be enough to come even close to killing him. But it is going to provide them some space to beat on the Tier 1 tower. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, you did have B-Jammer finally find his lockdown, I'm guessing, as he was able to... He and the Weaver were able to drop the Gyrocopter. Meanwhile, the dual lane of Treehead, Tar versus Husky and who's playing the Witch Doctor? Nikawa are sitting there trading blows with one another in the middle lane. Meanwhile, on the top lane, it's a slow PvE contest between Wiener on the Darks. I keep calling him Darkseer. On the Disruptor versus Dotkite on the Darkseer. Too many Ds in the top lane. All of the Ds.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
But he needs to be careful here. He gets hexed. Swarm comes out from Weaver, but he's going to eat a fair amount of damage between the right clicks and the tower. This time, there's the support combination of Canada and Nikawa in the jungle, but they're going to get caught out before they're able to do much, dropping first the Witch Doctor, followed by the Dazzle, and both heroes unable to do much except get hit in the face by a Clockwork hook and then try to retreat to safety. But with 4 TWM heroes in the bottom lane, the disable, the nuke damage coming out from Mystic Flare, hook shot, battery assault is enough to melt through those squishy in supports. So to compete with some of this damage, they're bringing in the heavy hitters here. They bring in the Doom, the Gyrocopter surging forward. He's going to eat a fair amount of damage from the Disruptor and Weaver, and he's going to get glimpsed back into Weaver's waiting tentacle arm things, and he will eventually fall. So for now, it's a 1-for-1 trade, losing the Gyrocopter for the Shadow Shaman, and Disruptor's been doomed. We'll see if that's going to finish him off. Meanwhile, further down on the lane, TWM have not stopped fighting. They're chasing down Canada here, and now Bismarck's looking to set his focus on Nikawa, who's going to try to deny himself to Roshan. Let's see if he gets it. Nope. Roshan gets distracted by Weaver for a moment, and the right clicks come through and finish him off. Looks like Skywrath was also able to finish off Doom. So, checking the fight recap there, and it's a one-sided exchange as TWM finish off at least the 3 heroes. They had also dropped the Gyrocopter there, and Shadow Shaman had fallen earlier in the matchup, so it's not the entire fight recap, but needless to say, they definitely did come out ahead in that exchange. And for their hard work, they look to apply pressure to this bottom tier 1 tower, but there's enough of a threat from Execution Esports, aka Salt Gaming, to stage a defense. We're 13 minutes into the game, and we have a 300 gold advantage going to TWM. So that is not a whole lot, and big part of that's going to be coming out from the Darkseer's ability to just flash farm creep waves. But in the top lane here, we see the first debut that I've been able to see of the Cogs Mystic Flare combination, trapping out the Doom next to the top rune, and that's definitely the target that they want to slow down now. Is he's leading the net worth charts for his team. And now Viking getting caught out a little bit too far forward, so the 1 and 2 position from their team is going to be able to fall here. Kite searching himself forward to try to even the odds, even the score, get a little bit of gold for himself. But now there's rotations in from Weaver, who's going to look to put the chase on. And here's the team fight control that I was talking about coming out from Disruptor. Is he's throwing out silences, he's throwing out kinetic fields, and he's kind of just controlling the positions of all those heroes. He tries to glimpse Husky back into base, but he's still there. He didn't get to it quite fast enough, and so he gets glimpsed a little bit far backwards, but B-Jammer diving into the tower pretty much by himself is going to get exploded here as he throws down snakes and grabs the Witch Doctor, but he can ping all he wants. He was a little bit too far behind enemy lines and paid the price for it. So following his death, you had Darkseer and the Clockwork death, but we'll check the recap, and of course not everything's going to be captured in that one either, as TWM is averaging above a kill a minute here as we hit the 15-minute mark. And this time it's Execution Esports coming away with a little bit more gold in their pocket, and they're going to further expand that as they take the second tower of the match. The tier 1 top has already fallen, and now the tier 2 mid. So 4-man squad pushing this middle lane here, and the Cogs Mystic Flare being thrown out there. B-Jammer grabbing up Husky before he's able to really make Clockwork pay, and now the chase is on. But you have Weaver teleporting into the mid lane, but he's eating a ton of damage from Viking, and the Rocket Barrage is going to be enough to kill the Weaver outright. Just the last trickle of heal coming out from Witch Doctor, helping to ensure that Husky makes it out alive. So after the Hook Cog Mystic Flare combination didn't quite yield the kill that they had been hoping for, Execution Esports make them pay, chasing down the Shadow Shaman, the Skywrath Mage, and finishing off the pesky Weaver who teleported into the middle of the fight there. I'm not sure if his time-lapse, his ultimate, was off of cooldown or not as he teleported. It looked like he was trying to make the cast animation just a little bit too late. He just ate a ton of damage from that Rocket Barrage, being pretty much the only hittable target next to Gyrocopter, who's putting 4 points into it already. So it's hitting for 22 a rocket. When you're the only one absorbing all that damage, and of course Weaver doesn't have the deepest health pool to tank that sort of damage at 17 minutes into a match. Clockwork hooking into 2, landing on Viking and the support, but the Shallow Grave is going to be thrown onto Viking at the last second underneath the Mystic Flare. And now the 4-man squad from Execution is going to focus on Bismarck, trying to drop this Weaver, but he is going to be able to make it out okay. Meanwhile, Husky was tanking up behind enemy lines and does pay the price, but he's able to drop the Shadow Shaman for it. Pings coming out from Nick Kawa, saying, hey guys, let's finish off these wards so we can apply pressure to the tower. Limbs being thrown onto Canada as he's going to be stuck within this kinetic field, and Tar makes his way forward as if to provide some additional damage and, you know, finish off the kill there, but all he acts as is a target for Gyrocopter to land his flak cannon, and not only does he fall, but the flak cannon radius is enough to secure the kill on Disruptor as well.
Haste!
Dire's top tower is under attack.
So both teams just constantly fighting right now, and
Dire's middle
they
tower
take
is
a
under attack.
brief break to explore the wonderful world of the jungle. The Jammer and Bismarck looking to finish off some of these neutral creeps that have been stacked up. So now we're entering pretty dangerous territory for TWM as they've lost yet another tower. Execution have not lost any of their towers. In fact, it looks like they're all at pretty high health, sitting at about 80% or higher health on each of the tier 1 towers. But even more dangerous than that, you have this net worth difference. So even though they're only sitting at maybe 9k net worth advantage, it's being really concentrated on the heroes they need to concentrate it on, and that's the Gyrocopter and Husky. Gyrocopter did not pick up the Midas, Husky did, and he's also gone on to finish up his Sanja and Yasha. Looks like Gyrocopter will either be following suit here, or he'll be going with a Manta BKB combination. We'll see based off the next item he picks up. Bismarck revealing himself as he right clicks against Nakawa, and you have Doom stepping forward, protecting his ally here. He does land the Doom against Weaver, and pings are coming out furiously saying, hey guys, let's finish off this Weaver before a team fight starts. But Treehead's not going to let that happen easily. They cogs up Husky, and Mystic Flare's thrown out as well, but it's not going to be on a locked down target, so it's only going to be passive damage. But Doc Kite's going to be captured behind enemy lines here, and he's getting a lot of damage from the wards, and now we have a bit of a ward battle as you have the Death Ward going up against the Serpent Wards. And B-Jammer risking life and death here as he steps forward to try to lock down Execution Esports heroes, and Weaver doing his absolute best to kite this team around and buy time for his allies, but there's just no follow-up to be had. Treehead's at low health, B-Jammer's at low health, Tar's, Mystic, Flare's on cooldown, so he doesn't have the hard-hitting spell that he needs to be a huge threat in those 2 and 3 versus 5 encounters. So eventually Weaver's dancing will be for naught as he falls, and Execution back off and head into the Roche pit for the first Roshan attempt of the game. With all 5 heroes here in the heavy sustain coming out from the Voodoo Restoration and Dazzle Heal. Combined with the armor from Weave, they're going to be able to drop this no problem. Rocket Flare coming out from Clockwork there to spot out Roshan as he falls, but that's all it's going to do, is spot out what they knew was happening, which was the Roshan. And I like what Execution's doing here. They're teaming up as 5. They know right now they have the superior team fight. That's what they've been building around. They have the paralyzing cask, they have the call down, even to some extent the scorched earth. They have all of the skills they need to take a team fight here, and they're going to trade towers here, not without being pest about it. Popping the fortification glyph, but eventually the snake wards are going to be able to pressure down this tower, I think, but they're not going to be able to push as fast as Execution are, and they make their way onto the high ground for the first time this match. Because they use those wards aggressively, they will not be in position for the defense here. The kinetic field's slightly off the mark here, but what's not off the mark is the call down, landing on 3 heroes with its initial rocket and the flak cannon going to be enough to drop the Shadow Shaman. Now Bismarck's trapped behind enemy territory, and right after he time lapses, there's a smoke waiting for him, so they have eyes on target and they finish him off, and he responds by buying back immediately into the fight here. Witch Doctor has fallen, and Dot Kite is sitting pretty low on health, and with a little Swarmling biting on him, he's going to have to back up. So right now, just 3 versus 3 inside the base of TWM, but the damage coming out from Gyrocopter is just too much, and he gets another 2 kills for himself there against the Clockwork and Skywrath Mage. And now they turn their focus onto the remaining barracks in this lane, and I don't think TMW are going to have the spells or have the skills to be able to stop this tower push. And the first barracks falls, but Canada is glimpsed backwards, and Husky surging forward. He throws out a, I thought that was a level death. Yep, throws out a level death mini stun to break the shackles, but Bismarck still in the area, dancing around, is eventually going to be able to drop the dazzle, and now Husky and Vi can get back to business and focus on taking down that tower. Bismarck searching forward. He has time lapse again, but he needs to be very careful. Viking's going to be glimpsed back, and this time the damage is there, as is the kinetic field, so he is going to fall. Husky running back to his ally here, seeing if he can save him. And Viking just exploding the Clockwork inside of those cogs. And between the AoE damage of Call Down and Flak Cannon, it damaged everyone so much that Doom was able to pick up 2 more kills for himself, with B-Jammer showing off a little bit, saying, hey, we're not quite done, with Witch Doctor diving deep behind the Tier 4 towers and nearly to the fountain, is going to get shackled inside of a Serpent Ward cage. Not sure what he was going for. I suspect he was finishing off the Aghanim Scepter, but whatever the case is, overstayed his welcome a little bit and paid the price for it. So now, just like before, only this time with the assistance of a Radiance and a double damage rune on the Doom, Execution's going to look to execute against this top and final Tier 2 tower from TMW, who have to be very careful right now because, well, they're constantly trying to find a pick-off here, but there's just none to be had. The gold lead for Execution starting to spiral out of control. If they lose a big team fight here, they're not going to be able to last much longer and will likely lose a second set of racks, which would most likely be the GG call. But even though there's some questionable positioning, they all make it back to the safety of their base. Now Treehead initiating deep behind enemy lines. His cogs are going to be slightly off the mark, and he's just sitting in the background there, trying to tank as much damage as he can. But Husky's just wrecking kids right now with the Radiance burn and the Scorched Earth. Bismarck tries to time-lapse back to safety, but instead he gets caught out by the Witch Doctor and Gyrocopter. Witch Doctor getting the killing blow for that one, and another 500 gold in his pocket. And so there's the buyback coming out from Disruptor, but there's not much he's going to be able to do against this 5-man squad. You have a rocket coming out from Gyrocopter saying, hey, what are you doing over here? But they're not going to take the bait and they're just going to focus on the towers. But that rocket did do half of Disruptor's health and damage, and now with 2 barracks under their belt, they Execution turn their eye onto the middle set of racks here, and these are going down pretty quick. Without Weaver, I don't think TMW is going to have the damage to force him out of here. Even if he was in play, it may just be a little too little, a little too late. And that's the 3rd set of racks, and Mega Creeps coming out for Execution Esports, who at this point in the game have only lost 1 tower and are sitting on a massive 25,000 gold advantage. So the GG is called. You got the last punches being thrown there as another team fight ensues, and Execution really just played to the strength of their draft here. They forced the team fight. They grouped up early on and started taking objectives very early on. They won a couple team fights in the mid game, and every time they did, they had enough damage and enough sustain coming out from the healing combo of Witch Doctor and Dazzle that the Gyrocopter, Doom, Darkseer were able to continue applying pressure to those towers and really extending that gold advantage that they had begun to build very early on in the game. So congratulations to Execution Esports. Hopefully TMW learns from that draft and learns from game 1 and goes into game 2 with a fresh set of eyes. They just put game 1 behind them. It's one of the beauties of Dota. All it takes is 1 game. When the horn sounds, both teams are on equal footing, and it's anybody's game. So put this one behind you, put it out of mind, focus on game 2, and see what you can do. I will not be able to cast the second match between these 2 teams, as I am scheduled to be casting the Firestarter versus Team Resilience game in 40 minutes. And even though this game just ran 29 minutes, there's more than 10 minutes that gets eaten up during the draft. So that's going to be it for me for game 1 here between Salt Gaming and Treehead's Wiener Smash, aka Execution Esports versus TWM. My name has been Darmin. You've been watching Darmin Cast. Stay tuned, and we'll be back with the second matchup tonight. Thanks.